I'm Denny, and I've been working for myself for the past 12 years. And today I'm here to bring you my most brutally honest, no BS advice for any of you who are thinking about quitting your stable income, walking away from the rat race, and hoping to make it out there on your own with no safety net, perhaps no savings, and maybe not even a backup plan. As I was 12 years ago when I first walked away from my stable paycheck as a nurse at only 8 weeks pregnant, following nothing but listening to this, my body and the dreaded feeling. I came to the point where I would pull up in my car outside the office and this just horrendous unease would envelop my body, and I would just think to myself, I would do anything just so I didn't have to go in there, just so I could not have to feel the way, this dreaded sensation inside my body anymore. And you see, before I give you my honest advice and how you're going to be able to make it without a job, the first thing you need to understand is that we've been told a lie. Like all of us growing up, we believe that we need a job to survive. From a very young age, it's drilled into us. It's programmed into us that, through school, through the exams, through, getting good results to the point where we land our first job, our nervous system is an override. We literally have been programmed and conditioned that there is no other way. In order to survive, we need an employer. But that's not actually true. The truth is, you need an income to survive. And these are two completely different things. And 12 years ago, I was at this turning point where my body could no longer take it's not the stress from the job. The job was nothing different. This job as a nurse, I got at one point, only a few years prior. I studied really hard to get, and when I got it, I celebrated it, and everyone else celebrated with me. The problem is not your job. The problem is we simply don't take the time to understand that we outgrow these situations, and every job and every situation, every horrible boss and every difficulty comes into our lives to shape us it's a stepping stone towards something else. And I'm telling you this now because I'm talking from experience. I'm not talking from textbooks. This is lived through experience for 12 years and what it actually takes to make it and get that income just by simply following that inner voice. And that inner voice might just be a sensation, that dreaded feeling, that exhaustion, that voice inside your body or inside your head telling you, I simply cannot go back to this job anymore, because you feel drained, because you feel depressed, depleted, and you simply don't feel alive. So step number one is my most honest advice for anyone. If you find yourself in this situation that, you simply cannot go back to your current job, whether that's because of a boss, it doesn't matter the reason why. What matters is that you listen to this sensation, because your body already knows well before your mind, your brain can conceptualize this idea and the feeling. This feeling of dread, of not wanting to go back to work anymore, is actually your key to your freedom. And I'm going to explain to you why. But what I want you to understand, it doesn't start with a business plan. It doesn't start with going to another course. If you watch my first video, it tells you the story of how I went from being a nurse, actually following my first passion, which was cake making. I went to being a cake maker, to then being a blogger, and to being a best-selling newsletter, to being a coach. It was throughout a journey, and that is the journey I want to help you go through as well, and it all starts with this sensation, with the dreaded feel, and you really need to feel into it and listen to it. But like I said, instead of going and rushing into making a business plan, signing up to some expensive marketing course or AI course or whatever, get rich quick scheme, the first thing you really need to do is acknowledge this sensation, the dread, the exhaustion, feeling depleted and simply not feeling alive. And then with intention, these are really simple steps that people miss. Just have the intention that I want to leave the job, and be open to any sort of ideas coming to you, because what you also need to understand that right now where you are, with basically feeling trapped that I don't want to go back to this job anymore. I'd do anything so that I don't have to go back to this job anymore. The plans that will come to you and how you're going to make it and how you're going to earn whatever you need to earn each month is, your brain is going to try to come up with solutions. But the only solutions your brain can come up with is a little bit like AI. Whatever you feed it, it will compile the information and spit out a result, an advice based on the limited information that you've been fed or been feeding yourself up until this point. So the worst thing you can do right now is to actually sit down and stop brainstorming. That's not what you need to do. What you actually need to do, and this might sound completely, woo-woo, but it's not. It's feeling to the dread, acknowledge that, right, I'm feeling this way because I'm meant to be going somewhere else. And where you're meant to be going is the next feeling is just take a minute and think about what is it that you spend most of your days thinking about. Why you're at work, why you feel bored, why you're trying to entertain yourself after work. What are the thoughts that are actually going through your mind? Are you dreaming about or daydreaming about doing something completely different? Are you daydreaming about posting videos online? Are you daydreaming about writing about your experiences? Are you daydreaming about, I don't know, fishing all day? It could be anything. But that thought going around on repeat inside your head is probably going to be the next clue to what you're going to be doing. Even though you might not have any safety net, you might not have a backup plan, you might not have even any savings, you already have the two keys that you need to make a start and make it work. And it might not feel very tangible, very physical, but it actually is, because if you continue down this road going to work while your body is feeling this unease, stress, unhappiness, this will eventually, unless it has already manifested in some kind of illness. Now that is a physical thing, that is a very tangible thing, and we all know this. We look at the statistics where, by the time you reach 40, suddenly you've got high blood pressure. Women experience XYZ symptoms. Men suddenly, heart attacks. And by the time you're 50, every single one of us is suffering from something, but we don't even question why. Well, the reason why is because for so many years, you land your first job after college or uni or whatever training you've done, and your nervous system finally settles, and you're hoping because you have finally reached a point where you've pleased your parents, society, and you have become sort of self-efficient. But you're not. When you get a job, you're not self-efficient. When you actually get a job and rely on an employer, you enter a codependent system, because from that point on, you don't know how to rely on yourself anymore, because all your energy day in, day out, if you work 8-hour shifts at the office and you have to commute 1 hour each way, that's 10 hours of your day. Your energy is focused on doing something else, being trapped inside the system. You simply don't have the time, and you don't even see that there is another way. Your job could well be, and it probably is, a stepping stone toward this moment here right now where you are feeling trapped, where you're feeling the dread when it's time to go to work. So going back to the first two steps, feel into it. Don't do a business plan yet. Don't go on any courses. Don't watch any more YouTube videos. Just acknowledge, yes, I hate my job. It's time to leave. I have no money, no backup plan, no safety net. What now? The next thing is positive thoughts. And what, this daydreaming, what is that story trying to tell you? The next feeling you also need to acknowledge is the other side of dread, which is excitement, which is butterflies in your stomach, which is the feeling of being alive, because that emotion is also a key to the next step. You see, people think that you need to do something monumental to make it, to, be able to stand on your own 2 feet, go out there and earn an income so that you can live and survive. But it's not monumental. It's these tiny, subtle things that your body is already telling you right now that you need to acknowledge and then feel into it. And it's not woo-woo. It's the way life is. And you have a choice. You can decide to completely disregard what your body is trying to tell you and then go down the route where you stay at your current role just because you're you're so scared of the unknown and because you simply don't know yourself enough, what you need to understand is it starts with following the breadcrumbs. You're not going to get the full picture right away. It's so simple. Don't overcomplicate it. And you think this must be the most impractical advice. It's actually not. And if you do your research, you'll find that everyone who's made it started with this. It's just that question that you've already asked yourself, whether consciously or subconsciously, while you're sitting at the office, bored, completely discouraged, and thinking, is this really it? Is this what we're here to do?